Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And I know it looks like I'm doing a range report on a Beretta 92, but I'm actually not. This is the Girsan Regard MC. So this is a Turkish-made clone of the Beretta 92. Now I know some of you guys are going to say you're not interested in this because it's made in Turkey, and I completely understand. I know there's a lot of people out there in the gun community that do not want to buy Turkish-made guns because of the politics. It's the nature of our relationship with them. Well, this is a gun that I do not personally own. It is on loan to the channel from my good friend Jack, and I'm never going to turn down a chance to shoot a gun. You never know, I might like it, might not like it. I just want to experience it all. And so I thank Jack for letting me borrow this and shoot this. Now my first impressions getting it out of the box is that I'm really impressed with how much like a real Beretta it is. It feels like a real Beretta. The sounds, when you rack the slide, the way that the safety operates, which by the way, this is an F version, not a G version, so it does have the safety. Everything is placed like it should. All of the small parts look just like a real Beretta. There are a couple of differences that I have noticed from just handling them, and I'll kind of show you that now. First off, the front strap does have finger grooves. Now, I have never seen a Beretta on the frame have that. I do know that there are wraparound grips that have that, but not on the frame. So that's the first thing I noticed. And the other thing, which is a small part that is different, is the pin which holds in the firing pin is in this version a roll pin and not a kind of solid pin like you get in the standard Berettas. And that honestly is the only difference that I can really see. Well, maybe the hammer. The hammer here also has a little bit more milling in it, so it's a little bit lighter. See if I can get this in focus there. That definitely looks a little bit different than a Beretta, but it has the same profile. It's just the sides are milled out a little bit different. To be very honest with you, everything else about this gun looks and feels like a Beretta, and I'm almost 100% sure every part on this would be interchangeable with a real Beretta. So let's go over everything I like and don't like about this before I get to the range. So the first thing I'm going to say is I really like the fit and finish of this gun. It looks very attractive. I'm not really sure what the finish is. This might be some type of Cerakote or Duracoat on the frame. It's dark gray. It looks like aluminum. The slide is black, so you get a little bit of a two-tone effect, but it's very subtle. I also like the fact that this is an A1 version, so you have the rails there in the front. This also is kind of like the Vertex grip. It doesn't have that big Beretta hump in the back. It has a little bit of curvature here, but it's not the same profile as your standard Beretta 92. And finally, this is an F-type safety. I mentioned that before. So this has the decocker and the safety. When it comes to my Beretta 92s, I actually prefer the F-type over the G-type. I know a lot of people, especially that carry the guns, prefer the G-type with the decocker only. Now let's talk about the things initially that I don't like about this. Speaking of those finger grooves, not a big fan of finger grooves on guns anymore. They don't always conform to everyone's hands. Now these are actually pretty good to me, but I think having a flat face here on the front of the grip is honestly a little bit more attractive. I also noticed that when I dry fire this gun, and let me safety check it for you. As you can see, it is empty. I can tell you this trigger is not as good as a real Beretta. It's a little bit heavier and a little bit spongier. Will that play into the accuracy and how the gun feels? Well, we're gonna find out. But it's just a little bit heavier. It's still a pretty darn good trigger. And the last thing I'm not a big fan of is the fact that this is a milled in front sight. So this is like a standard M9 or an M9A1. Unlike the A3 or the A4, where the front sight is dovetailed. So you don't have any options for the front sight. You can change out the rear sights, and I'm going to assume any Beretta 92 sight will fit there, but you can't change anything about the front sight unless you send this away to get worked on. But for the price of this gun, I think you get a really good copy of a Beretta 92. So I would have to say the closest gun that's in Beretta's lineup that fits this would be the Beretta M9A1. So I'll give you one more close-up of this. Hopefully you guys can see some of the small parts there. And as I mentioned, it looks just like a Beretta. All the small parts. It's really, honestly, kind of impressive. All right, so that's what I like and don't like in my initial thoughts from just handling the gun. Let's go to the range. I'm now going to put my first magazine through this thing, 15 rounds at 7 yards, and see how this thing shoots. All right, this thing is super accurate. I've always shot Berettas really well, and if I didn't know this was a Turkish-made clone, I would honestly think it's a Beretta. It just has that Cadillac recoil because it has that dropping block mechanism instead of the tilting barrel. Now, the trigger definitely is a little bit heavier, but shooting it, you don't really notice it. It's actually pretty darn good. Well, I'm going to do what I always do, put the target out a little bit further. I'm going to go for the head now at 12 yards, see what kind of groupings I can get. Now remember, I am not a trick shot. I'm not a competitive shooter. I'm just your average gun guy. So let's see if I can get these rounds on target. All right, so all rounds are on target. I'm really impressed with it. It just feels really good. I'm shooting it maybe even a little bit better than my stock Beretta M9s. The trigger, even though it's a little bit heavier, you don't even notice it. I probably went a little bit too fast in that last video. I really wanted to take my time, but this trigger feels really good. The reset isn't too bad. It's very tactile, it's loud, you can hear it. You just know where the gun and the hammer and the trigger are going to break. It's very predictable. I'm extremely happy with how this gun shoots. Well, I'm now going to give my wife Becky a chance to shoot this. I'm curious to see what her thoughts are. I'm thinking she's going to like this one. Well, she really enjoyed shooting it. I asked her, what do you think? Do you like it? All she could say is, I have no complaints. She shot it really well and was really happy with her grouping. So I'm gonna say she would have given this thing pretty darn high marks. And so if my wife likes a gun, I think a lot of people are gonna like the gun. She can be a little bit picky. So, well, obviously she's not picky with who she wants to spend her life with, but when it comes to guns, she definitely is. So now I'm going to try this gun in double action. Now this is a double action, single action gun, so the trigger pull on this first shot is going to be a little bit heavier. A lot of times when it comes to these heavier pulls, I always throw that first round. And usually if you're going to carry a gun, especially if this was a G model, that first round is kind of your safety. You have to pull that thing back quite far and use a lot of energy, so you know you have to want that gun to go off. It's not really going to be on a hair trigger. So sometimes these guns can have great single actions, but double actions can be a little bit iffy. So I'm going to set up the hostage target. I'm going to try to take out the hostage taker, and let's see what happens. First shot will be double action. All the rest will be single action. Alright, so I'm really happy with how that target looked after I was done with it. You had that line right down the center, and on the double action pull, it was pretty darn good. I think I was right there in the chest cavity on that first pull. So I'm really happy with this double action, and of course the gun overall. So what are my final thoughts on the Girsan Regard MC? First off, I'd like to know what Regard MC means. It's kind of weird to pick that name. Normally gun companies use some type of number or try to borrow some nomenclature that would kind of relate to the gun that they're going to copy, but in this case they didn't. I have to say that this is a really nice gun. I know for the price point it's really a bargain. And to be honest with you, if you're not really picky about brands, if you don't really have to have a Beretta, but you want a Beretta 92, this might be something to seriously take a look at. It's a very attractive offering. You get the rail, as I mentioned. You get the same type of locking mechanism. It has that Beretta Cadillac recoil. It shoots great. It's exceptionally accurate. The ejections were fantastic. I've actually been having some problems with the ejections lately on a couple of the guns that I'm reviewing. This one just throws that spent brass halfway across the range. I like that a lot. The trigger is very predictable. Might be a little bit on the heavier side compared to a Beretta, but obviously it doesn't really affect the performance at all. We didn't have any hiccups at the range. The gun just ran great. So I have to say, maybe you don't like a Turkish-made gun, but if you didn't know this gun was made in Turkey, I think you'd be really happy with it. Overall, everything about this gun, honestly, I really like. Now, I fully admit I'm probably a little bit of a brand snob. So if I'm going to buy a gun like this, I'm probably going to spend the extra $100, $150 to get a real Beretta. But if you don't care about that, or maybe you're on a budget, I think the Girsan is really a good way to go. It's an exceptionally high quality firearm. I'm just very impressed with it. The only thing I would say is pick one up before you buy it. Maybe not go to Gunbroker and buy one. Go to a store that has one or a place that you could rent it and just see if these front finger grooves will conform to your hand. That might be the only issue. The magazines in this, I think, take standard Beretta 92 mags, so this one's not marked with anything. I'm checking here. No, it says Metgar for Girsan made in Italy. So you get a standard Italian-made Beretta style magazine with this as well, and this particular magazine holds 18 rounds. That's pretty darn formidable. And pretty much if you have anything else, Beretta 92, M9, any type of those accessories, it's going to work on this gun just the same. So yeah, I am really impressed. I didn't think I would like this gun as much as I did, and I shoot this thing really accurate. So on my star rating, how would I rate the Girsan Regard MC? Well, this one actually exceeded my expectations. I do have those couple of gripes, like the finger grooves, and the fact that the front sight, you're kind of stuck with it. It's not milled out, so you can dovetail that and replace it. But besides that, it shot better than I was expecting. It feels better than I was expecting for a clone. So I'm actually going to give this thing 5 out of 5 stars. It just exceeded my expectations. It shot like a Beretta. It feels like a Beretta. I'm just going to sing its praises. Now, as I said, would I personally buy this gun? Maybe not. I might hold off for a real Beretta. And you guys know I'm kind of weird about the Turkish guns myself, just because I don't want to support a country that's not really our ally. But I have heard people say if you buy these on the secondary market, your money's not really going to Turkey. But if you don't care about that, I think this is a perfectly fine firearm. Some people are going to care, some people aren't. I've got some complaints in some of my videos in the past. But I gotta say, 5 out of 5 stars on this. Everything about it looks and feels great. So there you go. My range report, once again, on the Girsan Regard MC, clone of the Beretta M9A1 or 92 FS A1. Very attractive gun. Like the colors, like the options. Shoots like a Beretta. You can't ask for anything more at a very affordable price point. So, do you guys own one of these? What do you guys think? Have you ever shot one? I'd like to know if my experience mirrors yours. So let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.